The hangar was silent except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights reflecting off the polished concrete. Rows of F-22 Raptors stood like silent sentinels, their black fuselages gleaming under the sterile glow. Amelia, Amy, Carter moved among them with a careful, measured pace, her boots clicking against the floor. To anyone passing by, she was just another face in the sea of uniforms, another cog in the massive machinery of the Air Force. No one would have guessed that years ago she had been a legend, a pilot whose name, Night Fury, had been whispered with awe and fear in the same breath. 7 years had passed since that fateful mission. 7 years of leaving behind everything she had known. Every time she closed her eyes, she could feel the adrenaline, the heat, the terror of that night. Her squadron had been on a high-risk recon mission over enemy territory, and she had been the first to break through the radar net. Her maneuvers had been flawless, almost inhuman. Night Fury had been untouchable. But a catastrophic failure, an explosion, a miscommunication, a betrayal, had turned victory into disaster. Her reputation was erased in a day, her record buried, and Amy vanished from the public eye. She had spent the following years rebuilding herself, trading the roar of jet engines for the quiet of maintenance bays, the adrenaline of aerial combat for the careful precision of checking hydraulic lines and avionics systems. She had hidden her past under layers of humility and discipline, never seeking recognition, never craving acknowledgement. But that day something in the air made her pulse quicken. Perhaps it was the newcomer. Lieutenant Jason Mills, fresh from the academy, had a nervous energy that clashed with the hangar's usual rhythm. He approached her with a clipboard, eyes flicking up and down the row of jets as though trying to memorize every detail. "Ma'am, what's your role here?" he asked, his voice polite but curious. Amy glanced at him briefly, giving a polite nod. "Maintenance F-22 systems." Her voice was calm, steady, revealing nothing. Jason hesitated, then leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. "I've been reviewing flight logs. Your simulator records there, unmatched. I mean, no one moves like this. No one flies like this." Her pulse stuttered, a flicker of unease running down her spine. Memories surged unbidden, the cockpit canopy rattling from turbulence, the sharp twist of controls under her fingers, the moment when the missile lock alarm blared and she had to decide in a fraction of a second who lived and who didn't. 7 years of peace, of pretending she had left all that behind, suddenly felt fragile. Amy forced a smile. "You must be mistaken. There are plenty of pilots with high scores. You probably just haven't seen them all." Jason's gaze lingered on her a moment too long, a subtle intensity that made her uneasy. He didn't press further, but the curiosity in his eyes was impossible to ignore. There was something in him, a spark, a recognition, that made her past feel closer than she wanted. The hangar doors suddenly groaned as they opened, letting in a rush of evening wind and the distant roar of an F-22 taking off. Amy froze, her hand instinctively reaching for the edge of a jet's wing. The sound brought everything back. The heat of engines, the smell of fuel, the thrill of speed, the fear. She had tried to bury it, but the memory refused to stay down. Jason stepped closer, sensing her hesitation. "Ma'am, are you Night Fury?" Amy's heart seized. Her past, her carefully constructed walls were crumbling in one single, casual sentence. She turned toward him, searching his face for any hint that he was joking. There wasn't one. She swallowed hard. 7 years of silence, of running, of hiding, and suddenly it was all exposed. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She wanted to laugh it off, to brush it aside with a polite, "You've got the wrong person." But even as she opened her mouth, the lie felt thin, fragile. Jason's eyes were steady, unwavering, yet filled with a strange mixture of hope and challenge. "The maneuvers, the simulations, I've seen records from your era. No one can do that. Not in any simulator, not in any real flight. And now, with the threat incoming, the F-22s need someone like that." Amy's stomach churned. Threat incoming. She hadn't heard anything. Her life had been quiet, uneventful, carefully curated to avoid the chaos she had once thrived in. And now, a new danger was forcing its way into her meticulously built world. Her thoughts flickered to her squadron, to the friends she had lost, to the moment she had promised herself she would never return. She had hidden from this world for 7 years, but somehow it had found her again. And it wasn't asking politely. A message buzzed on her phone, unknown number. They know, don't hide. Tonight you either rise or vanish. Amy's hand shook as she read it. The calm, composed exterior she had maintained for years threatened to crumble. For a moment, she considered walking away, disappearing into the night like she had so many times before. But deep inside, a spark ignited, a thrill she had thought dead, a fire she had tried to extinguish. She turned back to Jason, forcing a measured calm. I'm not who you think I am, she said, voice tight but controlled. Jason tilted his head, a knowing smile brushing his lips. We'll see, he said softly, almost teasing, almost daring. Amy's mind raced. She hadn't flown in years. The cockpit, the controls, the thrill, they all existed only in her memory. Could she trust herself to remember? Could she risk stepping back into a world she had left behind forever? The distant roar of jets climbing into the sky punctuated the silence. The shadows of the F-22s around her seemed alive, almost sentient, watching, waiting. They were calling her back, whispering her true name, daring her to take flight again. Amy clenched her fists, forcing her fear into the cold steel of her palms. 7 years of hiding, 7 years of pretending to be ordinary. And now, one question, one voice, threatened to unravel everything. Her eyes met Jason again, and for a moment time seemed to slow. The air was thick with unspoken truths, with the weight of memory, with the pull of destiny. Ma'am, are you Night Fury? Amy's breath caught. She wanted to lie. She wanted to run. But the past had returned, relentless, unforgiving, demanding she answer. And then the hangar doors shuddered under the roar of another jet, breaking the sound barrier overhead, the ground trembling beneath her boots. The echo seemed to scream in her ears, "You cannot hide anymore." Her jaw tightened, her heart raced, and for the first time in 7 years, Amy Carter, Night Fury, felt the old rush of fear, excitement, and power all at once. The hangar was silent again, but the tension lingered like static electricity. Somewhere out there, a mission was waiting, and Amy knew, deep down, that her choice in the next few hours would change everything. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to step toward Jason, toward the unknown, toward the life she thought she had abandoned. The words that left her lips were quiet, almost a whisper, "I might be." And with that, the world seemed to hold its breath. Outside, a shadow flickered across the runway, silent, deliberate, watching. The past had found her, and it wasn't letting go. Amy felt her pulse slam against her ribcage as the words left her lips. I might be. The hangar seemed to shrink around her, the shadows of the F-22 stretching and twisting like phantoms of a life she thought she had buried. Every muscle in her body was tense, alert. She hadn't flown in 7 years, hadn't even thought about Night Fury outside of nightmares and fleeting memories. And yet here it was, her name, her legend, her past, threatening to unravel the fragile life she had carefully rebuilt. Jason Mills, the young lieutenant who had dared ask the impossible question, blinked in awe. He took a cautious step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. If it's true, then why? Why hide? You're the only one who can do this. The squadron, the mission, it needs Night Fury. Amy's gaze dropped to the floor. She felt the weight of every decision she had made over the last 7 years pressing down on her. I hid because I was afraid, she thought. Afraid of failing, afraid of dying, afraid of the ghosts I left behind. The memory of that final mission came crashing back. The screech of engines under attack, the flash of missiles streaking through the sky, the chaos of a squadron falling apart. She had been the last one left, flying through fire and smoke, making split-second decisions while the world below burned. And when it was over, she had walked away, disappearing into anonymity, leaving Night Fury as a legend, untouchable, unreachable. Now Jason's words pulled her back to reality. "We've lost 2 pilots already," he said, the tremor in his voice betraying his calm exterior. "The enemy drones swarm, it's faster, smarter. Our top pilot's gone. And you're the only one with the skills to stop it." Amy's chest tightened. Her life, her carefully constructed solitude was about to be shattered. Why now? Why me? She forced herself to look up at him. "I haven't flown in years. I don't know if I can even do it anymore." Jason's eyes softened, but his gaze didn't waver. "I've seen you in simulators, in training logs. Whatever you think you lost, it's still there. You're Night Fury, and if you don't step up, more people die. More mistakes like the ones from your past happen again." Amy's stomach dropped. He didn't know the half of it. He didn't know about the mission that had gone wrong, the lives she hadn't been able to save, the guilt that had haunted every day since. She had run to escape the past, not just the danger but the shame. A sudden commotion outside the hangar pulled her attention. Engineers and pilots were running to their posts, the distant wail of sirens rising in the night. Something was happening, something urgent. Her fingers itched to touch the controls of an F-22, to feel the familiar hum of the engines beneath her, the responsive touch of the flight sticks, the thrill of speed and precision that had defined her life. Jason followed her gaze, whispering urgently, "They've already deployed. The drones, they're not just a threat, they're hunting patterns. They know how to avoid standard intercepts. You're the only one who can predict their moves." Amy's hands clenched into fists. Every instinct she had buried for 7 years surged to life. She felt the old fire ignite, a mix of fear, adrenaline, and the intoxicating thrill of control. "I ran, but I never stopped being this," she realized. "Night Fury never left me. I left her behind." Her phone buzzed again, another unknown message flashing across the screen. "They're watching. You have 1 shot. Don't waste it." Amy's pulse spiked. This wasn't just about flying. This was about survival, strategy, and skill honed through years of both glory and pain. She felt a surge of clarity. 7 years of hiding, 7 years of pretending. She couldn't afford that anymore. Not tonight. Jason's voice broke through her thoughts. "Ma'am, the command center wants you in briefing immediately. If you refuse, there's no backup. It's now or never." Amy exhaled slowly, forcing herself to steady her racing heart. She had been preparing for this moment unconsciously for years, even if she hadn't realized it. Every quiet night in the maintenance bay, every late-night simulation run, every exercise of muscle memory and instinct, it had all been practice for this return. She looked at Jason, her eyes hardening. "Fine, let's see what's waiting for me." As they moved toward the command center, the hangar doors swung open once more, the roar of engines making the floor vibrate under their feet. Outside, the sky was alive with blinking lights, contrails, and shadows moving faster than the eye could track. It was chaotic, dangerous, alive, and it beckoned her back. In the briefing room, the atmosphere was tense. Officers and analysts huddled over monitors, eyes flicking between streams of data and incoming reports. Maps of the city and surrounding airspace flashed red, showing potential drone swarm targets. The lead commander, Colonel Mitchell, stood at the front, his face grim. "Night Fury," he said, his eyes locking on her with a mix of reverence and urgency. "We've lost 2 pilots to a drone formation that outmaneuvers our best. You are the only one capable of tracking, predicting, and intercepting these units. Failure isn't an option." Amy swallowed hard. She had been expecting a test, a question, a hesitation, but this was total immersion into the fire. She realized the magnitude of what she was being asked to do. One mistake could mean catastrophe. Jason nudged her gently, whispering, "They're counting on you just like before." Amy's throat tightened at his words. Just like before, memories of smoke, fire, adrenaline, and loss surged again. She could feel her palms sweating inside the gloves of her uniform. Her past wasn't just present. It was a living, breathing thing that demanded to be faced. She turned toward the screens, absorbing the maps, the flight paths, the projections. Each line, each blip, each indicator was a puzzle waiting to be solved with precision, intuition, and courage, the kind that had earned her the title Night Fury. And then, a sudden alert lit up one of the screens, a moving target streaking across a civilian sector, faster than anything the squadron had tracked before. The system flagged it as high priority, hostile, and unavoidable unless immediate action was taken. Amy's breath caught. Her instincts screamed. Every nerve in her body told her to act, to launch, to intercept, to fly. She hadn't done this for years, yet it all felt instinctive, raw, alive. Jason leaned closer, almost reverently. "You know what to do." Amy's mind flashed to her past missions, the precision maneuvers, the split-second decisions that had separated her from ordinary pilots. Night Fury wasn't just a name. It was skill, courage, and a reputation forged in fire. And now it demanded to be reborn. She stood taller, the weight of responsibility settling over her shoulders. She had hidden, she had run, she had lived in the shadow of her own legend. But that shadow was calling her back, and she could no longer ignore it. Colonel Mitchell's voice cut through her thoughts. "Prepare for immediate deployment. You leave in 10 minutes." Amy's jaw tightened. Her fingers brushed over the controls of the simulator stationed nearby, her heartbeat syncing with the pulsing lights. 10 minutes, she thought. 10 minutes to rise or fail. 10 minutes to reclaim who I am or vanish forever. Outside, a shadow moved across the tarmac, deliberate, fast, silent. It was more than a drone. It was a challenge, a threat, a herald of what was to come. Amy looked at Jason, then back at the monitors, then at the F-22 waiting for her. She could feel the old fire, the thrill, the fear, and the power building inside her. Her lips curved into a faint, sharp smile. "Let's fly." Jason's eyes widened, a mixture of awe and fear. "Ma'am, are you sure?" Amy didn't answer. She only stepped toward the jet, the canopy reflecting her determined eyes. The hangar doors were still open, the shadows dancing, the roar of engines filling her ears. And as she climbed into the cockpit, sealing herself in, she whispered under her breath, "Night Fury is back." The sky outside was dark, chaotic, and waiting, and she would meet it head-on. The mission had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The night air was thick with tension as Amy slid into the cockpit of the F-22, the canopy locking above her with a hiss that sounded like destiny itself sealing her fate. Every control, every switch, every display felt alive beneath her fingers, awakening muscles and instincts she had left dormant for 7 long years. For a moment, she let herself inhale deeply, feeling the familiar scent of fuel, the hum of electronics, and the taut anticipation that only a pilot knows. Beside her, Jason climbed into his jet, eyes wide but steady. "I've never flown with anyone like this," he admitted quietly, the words barely escaping over the comms. "If what they say is true, Night Fury, you're something else entirely." Amy didn't respond. She had no room for words. Words were for peace, for quiet, for hiding. Action required focus. Her hands danced over the controls, checking systems, monitoring fuel, weapons, and radar. The old thrill, the adrenaline, the fear, the clarity of purpose washed over her in waves. She was alive, more alive than she had been in years. The mission briefing replayed in her mind like a film strip. A drone swarm had infiltrated the city's airspace. Each drone was highly intelligent, capable of anticipating standard evasive maneuvers. They had already taken out 2 top pilots, and now the F-22 squadron's survival depended on her. A warning beep cut through the cockpit and the radar screen lit up. The first hostile drone cluster appeared on her HUD, moving fast, erratic, unpredictable. Amy's stomach dropped not from fear but from the thrill of the challenge. She leaned forward, adjusting her headset. "Jason, stay close. Follow my lead. Don't lose sight and trust my call." Jason swallowed, nodding. "Copy that, Night Fury." The jets lifted off the runway, engines screaming, thrust vibrating through their frames. The night sky was a living canvas, streaked with contrails and illuminated by the distant glow of the city. Amy's eyes scanned the radar, predicting the drone's paths, calculating angles, speed, and timing with a precision born of countless missions. Then the first drone fired. A streak of red light zipped toward Jason's jet. Amy reacted instantly, issuing evasive commands over the comms. "Roll left, vertical climb, now." Jason's voice crackled through her headset, tense but trusting. "Got it." Amy pushed her jet to its limits, banking sharply, flipping over in a vertical loop, feeling the familiar pull of G-forces pressing her into her seat. Memories of past missions surged, each maneuver, each daring move, each split-second decision she had once made without thinking. She hadn't flown in 7 years, but her body remembered. The drone adjusted, dodging flares and countermeasures with deadly intelligence. Amy's heart raced. This wasn't just a test of skill, it was a battle of wits, instinct against programmed precision. "Jason, stay behind me. I'm going to draw it out," she instructed. The drone zipped past her, narrowly missing a wingtip, and she responded with a sharp barrel roll, aligning her weapons for a lock-on. The thrill of combat, the rush, the danger, the focus, was intoxicating. For a moment she allowed herself to feel it all. This was why she had flown, why she had trained, why she had been Night Fury. Then another alert appeared. This time, a second drone was approaching from the city's east side, moving at a speed that made it almost impossible to track. Amy's jaw tightened. 2 drones, 2 trajectories, 1 pilot. The weight of responsibility pressed down like the force of the engines themselves. Failure wasn't just personal, it was catastrophic. Jason's voice broke through. "Ma'am, we can't handle both. We need a plan." Amy's eyes narrowed. She scanned the sky, tracking patterns, speed, and movement. "Trust me, keep close. I've got a route that will cut them off if I time it right." The first drone fired again, and Amy felt the sharp thrill of narrowly dodging destruction. Her hands were steady, movements precise, almost preternatural. She pushed her jet higher, banking left, then right, executing a complex sequence of maneuvers that would have seemed impossible to any other pilot. She had been Night Fury once, and she was proving it again. But then the unexpected happened, a sudden alert on the radar. A third drone, larger, faster, and smarter than the others, appeared directly above the city. Its trajectory was unpredictable, its flight path almost taunting. Amy felt her chest tighten. She had flown drones before, enemy interceptors, swarms, but this was different. Her mind raced. One wrong move and civilians could be at risk. The city below shimmered with lights, oblivious to the war taking place in the sky above. Her pulse thundered. Every decision mattered. "Jason," she said over the comms, voice tight but controlled, "we're going to divide their focus. I'll take the new one, you intercept the cluster. Don't lose them. Keep civilians safe." Jason hesitated, fear creeping into his voice. "Are you sure this is insane?" Amy's eyes locked on the incoming drone. She didn't answer. There was no time for doubt, only action. She pulled her F-22 into a steep dive, cutting through the night sky with precision, targeting the lone, massive drone. Every instinct, every memory, every ounce of skill she had buried for 7 years was alive. She felt the old rhythm return, the way her body moved in sync with the jet, the calculations of speed and angle and timing that had once made her unbeatable. Night Fury wasn't gone. She had only been waiting. The drone fired, a streak of red light slicing through the darkness. Amy twisted, narrowly avoiding impact, and launched a countermeasure. Explosions of light flared around her, illuminating the night. She could see Jason executing maneuvers nearby, trusting her guidance, alive in the chaos with her. But the drone adjusted instantly, faster than expected. Amy's stomach dropped. She realized this wasn't just a machine. It was adaptive, almost sentient, anticipating her every move. The thrill and terror merged into something exhilarating, something terrifying. She had faced death before, but now she felt the stakes with an intensity that was almost paralyzing. Then in a split second of clarity, she spotted a weakness, a subtle shift in the drone's trajectory, a minuscule error in timing. Amy seized it. She accelerated, banking sharply, and fired her missile. The explosion lit the sky, a brilliant flare against the black canvas of night. Amy's heart raced, but she didn't relax. There was no time. More drones were incoming, and the city below was still vulnerable. She had drawn the line, her past, her skills, her courage, into one razor-sharp moment of precision. And yet she knew the fight was far from over. Jason's voice broke through, awestruck. "Ma'am, I've never seen anything like that." Amy didn't respond. Her eyes scanned the horizon, already calculating the next move. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, not fear, not hesitation, only focus, only precision, only instinct. Night Fury was back. But then the radar blipped again. Another cluster of drones, faster, smarter, and more aggressive than before, was approaching. Amy's stomach tightened. This was no longer just a mission. It was a war in miniature, a deadly puzzle that required every ounce of her skill. Her hands tightened on the controls. 7 years of hiding, and now it all comes to this, she thought. I can't fail. Not now, not ever. The city lights below shimmered, oblivious to the danger above. Amy took a deep breath, feeling the familiar surge of fear and exhilaration, of life and death dancing together in the night sky. And as the first of the new drones streaked toward her, faster than anything she had seen before, she whispered under her breath, "Let's see if Night Fury still rules the sky." The engines roared. The night erupted, and Amy dove into the chaos, a legend reborn, facing a danger unlike any she had ever flown against. The ghosts of her past were alive in the sky, and she was ready to meet them head-on. The cockpit felt alive beneath Amy's hands, every switch, dial, and display humming with the raw energy of the jet. The night sky outside was a churning canvas of shadows and light, the city beneath them glittering innocently, unaware of the war raging above. She had flown countless missions before, but none had carried the weight of this moment, the first real test since she had returned from 7 years of self-imposed exile. Jason's voice crackled through her headset, tight with anticipation. "Night Fury, we're approaching the perimeter. I'm picking up multiple contacts on the radar. They're moving faster than predicted. We need a strategy." Amy's eyes scanned the HUD, tracing the lines of movement with precision. Drones moved in coordinated patterns, probing, testing, seeking weaknesses. This was no ordinary swarm. Someone or something had designed them to exploit mistakes. Her pulse surged. "This is what I left behind, and now it's chasing me down." "Stay on my 6, she instructed calmly, though her heart hammered. "Trust my lead, don't break formation." Jason swallowed audibly. "Copy that." The first drone surged, a wave of blinking lights streaking across the sky, darting toward the city. Amy's fingers tightened on the controls. She executed a series of maneuvers she hadn't performed in years: barrel rolls, tight climbs, sharp dives, dodging missiles and flares with a precision that left Jason gasping. Her instincts roared to life, every split-second decision grounded in muscle memory and experience. Night Fury had returned, sharper, faster, and more focused than ever. A sudden alarm blared, another wave of drones approaching from the south. They were faster, smarter, more aggressive. Amy's stomach dropped. 2 waves converging, one mistake, and the city could be destroyed. She glanced at Jason. "You handle the southern swarm. I'll intercept the lead unit." Jason hesitated, uncertainty in his voice. "That's insane. You can't take them all alone." Amy's jaw tightened. "I've done this before, trust me." The lead drone streaked toward her, almost mocking in its precision. Its trajectory was erratic, testing her limits, probing for weaknesses. Amy's mind sharpened, calculations racing. She could feel the old fear, the old adrenaline, the old thrill of life hanging by a thread, but it didn't paralyze her. It focused her. She dove, twisting through the night sky, dodging the drone's first salvo. Her hands moved instinctively, her mind calculating angles, speed, and timing. Every maneuver was a dance with death, every second stretched to eternity. Jason's voice broke through, almost panicked. "Night Fury, you're too close, pull back." Amy didn't answer. She couldn't. This wasn't about caution. This was about precision, skill, and survival. She barrel-rolled, climbed, and spun, matching the drone's movements, predicting its path before it even completed its next maneuver. Then the unthinkable happened. A missile fired from the lead drone, locking on her jet's position. Amy's stomach dropped. 1 second to react, 1 second to live. She twisted violently, deploying countermeasures. The missile exploded behind her, a brilliant flash illuminating the dark night. She felt the heat, the force, the undeniable reality of life and death in that instant. Jason's voice was frantic. "Ma'am, that was too close." Amy exhaled slowly, forcing herself to calm. "I'm fine. Keep your focus on the swarm." The southern wave had shifted, and Jason's jet weaved expertly through them, following her guidance. Together, they were coordinating, anticipating, countering, like a well-rehearsed ballet of destruction. But then a new blip appeared on the radar. A massive drone, larger than the others, faster, almost intelligent in its unpredictability. It moved not toward them but toward the heart of the city. Amy's chest tightened. This wasn't just a mission, it was personal. The stakes weren't just life or death for her, they were life or death for hundreds of innocent civilians. She swallowed hard. "Jason, stay on the swarm, I'll handle this one." Jason hesitated. "You can't." "I will," she interrupted sharply. The massive drone closed in with terrifying speed. Amy felt her pulse spike, her heart hammering in rhythm with the roaring engines. Every instinct, every ounce of skill she had buried, surged to the forefront. She pushed the F-22 to its limits, climbing steeply, banking sharply, and diving toward the drone. The city lights shimmered below, fragile and beautiful, oblivious to the danger above. Amy's mind raced through strategies, recalling old maneuvers, predicting the drone's next moves. She had faced impossible odds before, and she would face them again. The drone fired. Amy twisted, narrowly avoiding the first salvo. She returned fire, missiles streaking through the night sky, narrowly missing their target. The chase intensified, spiraling across the skyline in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Her breathing was steady, though her chest felt like it would burst. This was more than skill, it was instinct, courage, and a refusal to fail. Every second mattered. One mistake could destroy everything. Then, as she prepared for a daring intercept, another alert flashed. Jason had taken heavy fire. Amy's stomach dropped. She couldn't leave him exposed, but she couldn't abandon the massive drone heading straight for civilians. She gritted her teeth, mind racing. Split the difference. Use him as bait. Draw the lead drone away. She shouted over the comms, "Jason, draw them south. Follow my lead and use your countermeasures to distract the swarm. I'll intercept the big one." Jason hesitated but then nodded, trusting her implicitly. "Copy that, Night Fury." Amy dove toward the massive drone, executing a maneuver so precise it seemed impossible. She fired her missile, narrowly missing, forcing the drone into an erratic spiral. It swerved dangerously close to a building, and she barely corrected her trajectory in time. The city seemed to hold its breath. Lights flickered as the massive drone veered, searching for a new target. Amy pushed her jet harder, chasing it, predicting its path, staying one step ahead. Every instinct screamed, every muscle responded. She was alive, dangerous, unstoppable. And then a sudden explosion lit the horizon. One of Jason's countermeasures had hit, diverting a secondary drone away from the city. Amy felt a surge of relief, but it was fleeting. The massive drone was still moving, still dangerous, still alive. Her eyes narrowed, calculating, anticipating. She could feel the old night fury inside her, the fearless pilot, the legend, the ghost of the skis. 7 years of hiding had ended. Tonight she was back. As she lined up her next intercept, the massive drone suddenly changed course, heading toward the river. Amy's heart leapt. She could trap it, corner it, neutralize it. But the maneuver was risky. One wrong move and the drone could accelerate out of reach or worse, crash into the city. Her hands tightened on the controls. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She could hear Jason's voice faintly over the comms, steady but tense. "Night Fury, you've got this." She nodded even though he couldn't see her. "I've got this," she thought. "I have to." The F-22 screamed through the night, twisting, banking, diving, following the massive drone into a precise trap. Amy fired her missile with pinpoint accuracy. It struck true, detonating near the drone's core. A flash of light illuminated the skyline, followed by silence, then smoke. The drone was neutralized. Amy exhaled, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She glanced over at Jason, who was laughing in disbelief, exhilaration, and relief. I can't believe that worked." Amy allowed herself a small, tight smile. It always works if you trust your instincts. But even as the city below returned to normal, she knew the danger wasn't over. More threats could appear, more drones could strike, and she had only begun to confront the consequences of her return. A message flashed on her comms, target eliminated, but incoming threat detected, coordinates transmitted. Amy's pulse spiked again. There was no time to rest, no time to celebrate. Night Fury had returned, yes, but the sky was vast, the threats relentless, and her skills would be tested in ways she hadn't faced in 7 years. She looked at the horizon, the first streaks of dawn beginning to paint the clouds. The city was safe for now, but the war was far from over. And deep down, Amy knew this was only the beginning. The call had come, the mission had begun, and Night Fury was alive, but the ghosts of the sky were already waiting for her next move. The cockpit was alive with the thrumming roar of the F-22 engines, a visceral reminder that Amy Carter, Night Fury, was no longer hiding. The night sky stretched out like a battlefield, streaked with contrails and punctuated by flashing lights from distant drones. Her hands were steady, her eyes sharp, her mind focused. Every nerve in her body screamed with the thrill of combat. 7 years of dormancy had not dulled her instincts. If anything, they had grown sharper, honed by discipline, patience, and the gnawing weight of the past. Jason followed closely in formation, his voice tense over the comms. "Night Fury, I've never seen anything like this. The swarm's reorganizing, they're faster than predicted. What do we do?" Amy's jaw tightened. "Keep your altitude, stay tight, watch my 6. I'll draw their lead units away, trust me." He hesitated for a moment but nodded. "Copy that, lead the way." The first drones approached in coordinated patterns, streaking toward the city with lethal precision. Amy's eyes narrowed as she scanned the radar, analyzing speed, trajectory, and formation. The enemy was smarter than any swarm she had faced in training. Their movements were synchronized, adaptive, almost anticipating her maneuvers. Her pulse raced. "They're testing me," she realized. "They want to see how far I can be pushed." The lead drone fired first, a missile streaking toward her F-22. Amy reacted instinctively, twisting her jet in a vertical climb, deploying countermeasures. The explosion lit the sky in a flash of orange, followed by the low echo of debris falling harmlessly below. Jason's voice cracked, a mixture of fear and awe. That was too close. Amy exhaled, forcing herself to focus. One wave down, many more to go. The next drone fired and she rolled sharply, narrowly avoiding impact. Every maneuver was precise, calculated, a dance with death. She could feel Night Fury inside her, the ghost of her past, guiding every decision, every reflex, every heartbeat. The swarm adjusted, splitting into 2 clusters. One moved south, toward Jason, the other east, heading straight for the city. Amy's eyes darted between them, calculating angles, speed, altitude, and potential collateral damage. "Jason," she said calmly, though her heart raced, "you handle the southern cluster. I'll intercept the lead unit moving toward the city. Don't break formation. Watch civilians at all costs." Jason's voice wavered. "You can't." "I can," she interrupted sharply. "Just follow my call." The lead drone shifted course, banking sharply, anticipating her attack. Amy's stomach dropped as she realized it was faster and smarter than any machine she had faced before. She pushed her jet to its limits, weaving through the night sky in a series of breathtaking maneuvers. Barrel rolls, vertical dives, tight loops. Her hands moved with precision, almost as if guided by muscle memory from a lifetime she had tried to forget. The massive drone fired again. Amy twisted violently, narrowly avoiding a direct hit, and launched a missile in return. The explosion illuminated the skyline, a momentary flash of brilliance in the darkness. The drone veered but was not destroyed. Amy's chest tightened. It's adaptive, she realized, it's learning. She adjusted her approach, diving toward the drone from above, calculating its trajectory and speed. She fired a second missile, watching it streak across the night sky. A direct hit. The massive drone spiraled, but before it could crash, its thrusters adjusted midair, regaining control. Her pulse hammered. She had underestimated it. This was no ordinary drone. It was designed for combat, intelligence, and destruction. Her mind raced, calculating her next move. Jason's voice came over the comms, tense. "Night Fury, southern clusters breaking formation. They're targeting the city." Amy's eyes widened. "No, not on my watch." She adjusted her jet, banking sharply to intercept the drones heading toward the city. Her hands moved instinctively, her mind operating at lightning speed. She fired, weaving, dodging, executing maneuvers that defied logic yet followed the rules of physics she knew better than anyone. A missile streaked past her wingtip, narrowly missing, and exploded against a drone in the cluster. Amy felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, fear, and exhilaration, the three forces that had defined her life in the sky. She had left this world behind for 7 years, but it had never left her. The drones adjusted again, faster, smarter, more lethal. Amy's chest tightened. One wrong move and they could strike the city, the civilians, Jason, or her. Every second was a gamble, every maneuver a calculated risk. She dove, ascending in a sharp vertical climb, rolling at the apex, and fired a missile at the lead drone. A direct hit. The drone erupted into a fireball, spiraling downward harmlessly into an empty industrial district. Jason's voice came, awestruck. "Night Fury, you're unbelievable." Amy didn't respond. She was already scanning for the next threat. The swarm was still active, still dangerous, still learning. Her hands moved over the controls with surgical precision, guiding Jason and herself in a deadly ballet across the night sky. And then a new blip appeared on her radar, a massive formation of drones approaching from the north, faster than the previous wave, their path calculated and deadly. Amy's stomach dropped. This was escalation. The enemy wasn't testing them anymore. They were attacking with lethal intent. Her breath hitched, but her expression hardened. 7 years of hiding, of running, of pretending she was just Amy Carter had prepared her for this. Night Fury was alive, and she would face whatever came next. "Jason," she said firmly, voice calm despite the chaos, "we split. I take the lead drones. You intercept the northern formation. We can do this, but you have to trust me completely." Jason hesitated, fear clear in his voice. This is insane. You're taking the biggest threat alone." Amy's eyes narrowed. "I've faced worse. Trust me or don't follow, but do your job." The jets split, each engaging their respective targets. Amy dove into the lead drones, weaving through the chaos with unmatched precision. Her hands were steady, her eyes calculating every angle, every move. The massive drones fired, missiles streaking toward her, but she danced through them, countermeasures erupting in brilliant flares. She fired missile after missile, taking down one drone after another, each destruction a fleeting flash of fire against the night sky. The thrill, the fear, the exhilaration, it all merged into a single focus, a clarity she had not felt in years. Jason's voice broke through, urgent. Night Fury, Northern drones are adapting faster. You need to finish them. Amy exhaled, the weight of responsibility pressing down, but she refused to falter. She adjusted her approach, targeting the remaining drones with surgical precision. One by one they fell, explosions lighting the sky like deadly fireworks. But then the unexpected. A new target appeared, even larger than before, approaching rapidly from the horizon. Amy's chest tightened. This was no ordinary drone. It moved with intelligence, anticipation, almost sentient in its precision. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what she was facing. 7 years of hiding, 7 years of silence, and now this. Night Fury was back, but the enemy had escalated. She took a deep breath, scanning the skis, the HUD, and Jason's position. Every instinct screamed, every muscle remembered. She was alive, unstoppable, and relentless. And as the massive new drone streaked toward her, she whispered under her breath, "Let's see if Night Fury still rules the sky." The engines roared. The night exploded in motion, and Amy dove headfirst into the chaos, a legend reborn, facing a threat unlike anything she had ever encountered. The fight had only just begun, and the sky itself was about to test her to the limit. The sky above the city had become a war zone. Explosions of light illuminated the dark clouds, tracing deadly streaks across the night. Amy Carter, Night Fury, felt the weight of every second pressing down on her. The massive drone formation loomed ahead like a predator, its movements precise, intelligent, almost human. Every maneuver she made, every missile she fired seemed anticipated. Her pulse thundered. 7 years of hiding had ended, and now she was fully back in the storm she had once ruled. The thrill of flight, the terror of combat, and the responsibility for hundreds of innocent lives converged into a single, excruciatingly sharp point of focus. Night Fury, Jason's voice came through, tense, almost cracking under pressure. The Northern formation is converging on the civilian district. We need a coordinated strike, now. Amy's jaw tightened. Coordination required trust, and trust meant counting on someone else when mistakes could mean death. She scanned the HUD, calculating trajectories, speed, and evasive options. "Jason, you cover the right flank. I'll lead the intercept on the lead drone. Follow my maneuvers exactly. No deviation." Jason hesitated for a heartbeat. "Copy that, just keep me alive." Amy allowed herself the smallest smirk, though her expression remained steely. "Stay alive, and we both will." The lead drone surged forward, larger than any before, its lights cutting through the darkness. Amy's instincts kicked in. She executed a tight vertical loop, dodging the first salvo of missiles and returning fire. The explosion lit up the sky in a fiery flash, but the drone had already adapted, shifting course with precision that made her stomach knot. She twisted, banked, and climbed sharply, feeling the G-forces press her into the seat. Every movement, every calculation was instinctual, honed over countless missions, nightmares, and victories. Night Fury had returned. She was alive. She was lethal. A sudden alert on the HUD drew her attention. A secondary drone, previously hidden, was streaking toward Jason. Amy's chest tightened. She couldn't leave him exposed, but the lead drone demanded her focus. "Jason," she barked over the comms. "Evasive maneuver Delta, break formation for 2 seconds and countermeasure the incoming." He responded instantly, trusting her guidance. "Copy." Amy focused back on the lead drone, her eyes sharp, mind calculating angles and intercepts with almost supernatural speed. She executed a corkscrew maneuver, firing another missile that connected with the drone's wing, sending it spiraling. Yet the massive machine stabilized again, smarter, faster, more dangerous. Her chest tightened. It's not just a machine. It's designed to think, to anticipate, to kill. The city lights glimmered below, innocent and oblivious. Each second she delayed, the threat grew. Her hands were steady, her breath measured, her mind razor-sharp. She executed a daring dive toward the drone, using the buildings below to mask her approach and force it into a predictable pattern. A missile streaked past her cockpit, narrowly missing. Amy twisted violently, firing back. The explosion illuminated her face through the canopy, eyes wide, jaw tight, hands moving like lightning over the controls. Jason's voice came again, awed and terrified. "Night Fury, you're insane. I've never seen anyone fly like this." Amy didn't answer. Words were wasted breath. Every second was precious. Every move mattered. The massive drone fired again. This time, a missile locked on her position, and she had mere seconds to react. Amy banked sharply, pulling a near-impossible maneuver she had only practiced in simulations. The missile detonated behind her, a brilliant orange flash, but she was already moving, already calculating the next move. Her mind raced. 7 years, all that time, and this is what I've been training for, even if I didn't know it. She fired another missile, hitting the drone's rear thruster. Sparks erupted, smoke trailing, but it was still operational. The massive drone adjusted, faster, sharper, more cunning. Amy's stomach knotted. This was unlike anything she had ever faced. Then a new alert flashed, another wave of smaller drones, previously hidden, flanking from the north and south. Her heart leapt into her throat. They're adapting faster than we can predict. They've learned from us. Amy exhaled, forcing herself to focus. Fear had no place here. Only precision, skill, and instinct could survive. She executed a series of maneuvers so sharp, so precise, that even Jason struggled to follow. Twisting, diving, flipping. Her jet became a lethal extension of her body, each movement a calculated strike against the drones. "Night Fury," Jason's voice rang out urgent. "The flanking drones are closing in. This is insane." Amy's pulse pounded. It has to be done. She executed a daring climb, firing missiles that streaked like comets toward the flanking drones. Explosions erupted in the night sky, lighting up the city below. She twisted sharply, pulling off a maneuver so precise it would have been impossible for any other pilot. 1, 2, 3 drones exploded, sending debris falling harmlessly away from the city. But the lead drone remained. Larger, smarter, faster. Its lights glowed like eyes, tracking her movements, anticipating her every action. Amy's chest tightened. This was no longer a battle of reflexes, it was a battle of wills. She dove, cutting through the night, drawing the drone toward the river, away from the city. Every twist, turn, and barrel roll was calculated, precise, dangerous. Sparks flew, engines screamed, and her adrenaline surged like a tidal wave. Jason's voice broke through again, awed. "Night Fury, you're a legend. I can't even describe it." Amy's lips pressed into a tight line. Praise was useless here. Only survival mattered. The massive drone fired again, missiles streaking toward her. She twisted violently, narrowly avoiding impact, and fired her final missile. It connected. The massive drone spiraled, smoke trailing, then exploded in a brilliant flash over the river. Amy exhaled, her chest heaving. The immediate threat was neutralized. She looked over at Jason, whose own jet bore the marks of close calls but had survived. Relief flooded through her, but it was fleeting. The radar still blinked. More drones could be incoming. The enemy wasn't finished. Her muscles trembled from the strain, her hands sweaty, her heart still racing. But she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when the city had depended on her, and not when her legend demanded she continue. Jason's voice came, softer this time, almost reverent. "Night Fury, you saved us all. The city, everything, it's all because of you." Amy shook her head, forcing herself to focus. "Not yet. We need to scan the perimeter. Make sure there's nothing else." Her eyes swept the horizon, the HUD alive with possibilities, the night sky a battlefield of shadows and light. She had faced the worst, survived the impossible, and proven herself again. But she knew the mission wasn't over. Not yet. As she scanned, a sudden flash caught her attention, a new, larger blip, faster, different. Her pulse tightened. The enemy had evolved again. Someone had anticipated her moves. Someone or something was challenging Night Fury itself. Her breath hitched, but her resolve hardened. 7 years of hiding had ended. 7 years of fear, doubt, and exile had forged her into something sharper, stronger, unstoppable. And as the new threat streaked toward the city, Amy whispered under her breath, "Bring it on." The engine screamed. The night exploded with fire and motion. Night Fury was alive, and the storm had only just begun. The sky was hers, and the next battle was imminent. The night sky had become a theater of chaos. Explosions painted the clouds in violent orange and white flashes, the roar of F-22 engines cutting through the tension like thunder. Amy Carter, Night Fury, tightened her grip on the flight controls, every muscle in her body taut with anticipation. The massive drone that had appeared on her radar was faster, smarter, and deadlier than anything she had faced yet. It moved with a precision that suggested a mind behind the machine, calculating, adapting, anticipating every maneuver. Her pulse hammered. She could feel the weight of the city below, the responsibility of countless lives, and the expectations of everyone in the squadron pressing down on her. One mistake now could mean disaster. "Night Fury," Jason's voice crackled over the comms, tension thick in his tone. "I've got eyes on the flanking drones. They're converging faster than predicted. We need a plan, and fast." Amy's jaw tightened. Plans were luxury. Action was necessity. She scanned the HUD, analyzing speed, trajectory, and altitude. Every second counted, every decision a matter of life and death. "Jason," she said sharply, "you take the northern cluster. I'll engage the lead drone. Follow my maneuvers exactly, no improvisation. Lives depend on it." Jason hesitated, doubt in his voice. "This is insane. You can't." "I can," Amy interrupted, her tone steel. "Trust me." The lead drone surged forward, a deadly streak of light against the night. Amy felt her stomach tighten. Its trajectory was aggressive, almost taunting. She pushed the F-22 to its limits, diving and weaving in a breathtaking display of aerial acrobatics. Every maneuver, every twist, every barrel roll was a test of her skill, a challenge to her endurance. Night Fury was alive again, and she would not falter. The drone fired, missiles streaking toward her. Amy twisted violently, narrowly avoiding impact, and launched countermeasures that flared brilliantly in the night. Explosions erupted around her, illuminating her face through the canopy, eyes wide, jaw tight, focused. Jason's voice cut through, awe and fear mixed. "Night Fury, you're insane." Amy didn't respond. Words were meaningless in this storm. She executed a daring dive, firing missiles that streaked like comets, one after another hitting their marks. The lead drone spiraled but stabilized almost effortlessly, its systems adaptive, almost alive. A new alert flashed, a secondary swarm approaching from the west. Her chest tightened. "They've learned from us. They're evolving." The city below glimmered, oblivious. Amy's pulse spiked. One miscalculation could destroy everything. "Jason, break formation and cover the flanking drones. I'll handle the lead." He hesitated, but finally complied. His jet twisted through the night sky, countering the smaller drones as Amy focused on the massive lead. Her eyes narrowed as she analyzed patterns, trajectories, and potential weaknesses. Every instinct screamed, every calculation mattered. She executed a complex corkscrew maneuver, bringing her within range of the massive drone. Missiles streaked from her jet. One connected with the drone's wing, sending sparks and smoke trailing. The drone veered but recovered instantly. Amy's chest tightened. This machine was relentless, almost intelligent. The HUD flashed another alert. Jason's jet had been hit by an incoming missile. Amy's stomach dropped. She couldn't leave him exposed, but the lead drone demanded her attention. "Jason, evasive maneuver Delta, now," she barked. He responded instantly, narrowly avoiding destruction. Relief surged through her, but it was fleeting. The lead drone shifted, faster, smarter, moving toward the heart of the city. Amy's hands moved with precision, executing maneuvers only Night Fury could perform. She twisted, looped, climbed, and dove, firing missiles in rapid succession. Explosions lit the skyline. She was alive, lethal, unstoppable. But the massive drone was relentless. It fired again, a missile streaking straight for her cockpit. Amy's breath caught. She twisted sharply, narrowly avoiding it, feeling the G-forces press her into the seat. Sparks flew past her wings. The city below shimmered in lights, innocent and oblivious. Amy's jaw tightened. She had to stop this machine, no matter the risk. She executed a vertical climb, pulling a near-impossible maneuver, and launched a missile at the drone's rear thruster. The impact sent the drone spiraling violently toward the river. Jason's voice came, awed and panicked. "Night Fury, that's incredible." Amy didn't respond. She had no time. Another blip appeared on the HUD, a new wave of smaller drones, faster and smarter, approaching from the east. The swarm was relentless. She exhaled, forcing herself to focus. Fear had no place here, only skill, precision, and instinct. Night Fury had returned for this moment. She executed maneuvers so sharp, so precise, that even Jason struggled to follow. Twisting, diving, looping. The jets became lethal extensions of their pilots, striking down drones with deadly accuracy. 1, 2, 3, each drone exploded in brilliant fire, harmless debris falling toward the river below. But the lead drone remained, larger, faster, more cunning. Its lights glowed like eyes, tracking her every move. Amy's stomach knotted. This is a test of wills. She dove toward the drone, drawing it away from the city. Her hands moved instinctively, mind calculating every angle, every speed, every chance for victory. Sparks erupted, engines screamed, and the night became a kaleidoscope of fire and motion. Jason's voice broke through, awed. "Night Fury, you're a legend. I've never seen anything like this." Amy's lips pressed into a tight line. Praise was useless. Survival mattered. Every move mattered. The massive drone fired again. Amy twisted violently, narrowly avoiding the missiles. She lined up a final intercept, aiming for its core. Missile launched. Direct hit. The drone spiraled, smoke trailing. And then a massive explosion over the river, lighting the skyline in a deadly brilliance. Amy exhaled, chest heaving, sweat beading on her forehead. The immediate threat was neutralized. She looked over at Jason, whose jet bore the marks of close calls but survived. Relief flooded her, but it was brief. More drones could be incoming, more threats could emerge, and the mission was not yet complete. Radar flashed again. A new blip appeared, faster, smarter, unlike anything before. Amy's pulse spiked. Someone had anticipated her. Someone wanted Night Fury herself eliminated. She gritted her teeth. 7 years of hiding had ended. 7 years of fear, doubt, and exile had forged her into something stronger, sharper, unstoppable. And as the new threat streaked toward the city, she whispered under her breath, "Bring it on." The engine screamed. The sky erupted in chaos. Night Fury was alive, unstoppable, and ready. The final showdown had begun. The night sky roared with chaos. Amy Carter's F-22 sliced through clouds streaked with fire and light, each explosion painting the horizon in sharp flashes that reflected in her eyes. She had faced impossible odds, adaptive drones, and her own buried fears, but nothing had prepared her for what appeared on her radar now. A massive, sleek machine emerged from the clouds, far larger than any drone she had encountered. Its thrusters glowed an ominous red, cutting through the night like a predator hunting its prey. This was no ordinary threat. This was the culmination of every challenge Night Fury had ever faced. and it was coming for her, for the city, for the legend she had tried to hide. Amy's pulse surged. The sky felt alive, electric, charged with danger. Every instinct screamed at her, this is it, the moment that defines you, the moment you can't hide from. Jason, she barked over the comms, voice sharp and commanding, the final unit is approaching. You hold the flanks and keep the peripheral drones distracted. I'll handle the lead. Jason hesitated. Fear was evident in his voice. Are you sure this is insane? Amy's eyes narrowed, her jaw tightening. I'm Night Fury. I've faced worse. Trust me or don't. But I'm not letting the city die. The massive drone surged forward, faster than anything she had ever flown against. Amy's chest tightened. Its trajectory was deliberate, precise, almost as if it were calculating her every move. She pushed the F-22 to its limits, engines screaming, G-forces pressing her into the seat. Every maneuver, every twist, every barrel roll was a test of skill and courage. The first missile streaked toward her. Amy twisted violently, narrowly avoiding it, deploying countermeasures that flared brilliantly, illuminating the night. Sparks exploded around her cockpit, the hum of the engines a deafening anthem of survival. Jason's voice came, tense and awed. Night Fury, you're insane. Amy didn't respond. Words were useless. Precision was everything. She executed a daring vertical climb, then a sharp barrel roll, bringing her into an intercept path for the massive drone. It fired again. She twisted sharply, narrowly avoiding impact, then launched a missile directly at its thrusters. The missile connected, sparks and fire trailing, but the drone adapted instantly, altering its course midair. Her chest tightened. This is not just a machine. It's a challenge, a puzzle, and it's alive. The city below glittered, innocent, unaware. Every second was critical. One miscalculation could mean catastrophe. Amy felt the weight of her past, 7 years of hiding, fear, and self-doubt pressing down. But she also felt the strength of experience, skill, and determination surge within her. Night Fury was alive. She was back, and she was unstoppable. She dove, twisting and rolling, drawing the massive drone toward the river, away from the city. Every maneuver was calculated, each second stretched to the edge of impossibility. Missiles streaked, engines screamed, and the night became a kaleidoscope of fire and light. Then an unexpected attack. A drone she hadn't seen before appeared from behind, firing a barrage. Amy's stomach dropped. She executed a split maneuver, narrowly avoiding destruction, twisting violently and firing back. Sparks erupted, illuminating the dark night in a deadly ballet. Jason's voice came, almost in disbelief. Night Fury, you're unbelievable. Amy's lips pressed into a tight line. Praise was useless here. Only action mattered. Only survival mattered. The massive drone adjusted again, faster, sharper, more cunning. Her pulse hammered. She realized the truth. This was no ordinary mission. This was the ultimate test. Every decision, every instinct, every ounce of skill mattered. She had faced death before, but now the stakes were unprecedented. She executed a daring maneuver, diving through a cloud bank, then twisting sharply to emerge directly behind the massive drone. Her heart pounded. This was her chance. She fired a missile directly at its core. Impact. The explosion lit the night sky in a brilliant flash, fire trailing in every direction. The massive drone spiraled, engines failing, smoke trailing into the clouds. Amy watched, chest heaving as it finally plummeted into the river below, neutralized. Relief surged, but it was fleeting. Radar still flickered. Remaining drones were scattered but operational. Amy adjusted her approach, guiding Jason and himself to intercept the final wave. They moved as a deadly duet, precise and synchronized, each maneuver a blend of experience and instinct. One by one, the drones fell, fire streaking across the night sky, debris falling harmlessly into the river and empty fields. The city remained untouched, oblivious to the war that had raged above. Finally, silence. The sky was calm, the explosions faded. Amy exhaled, leaning back in her seat, sweat and adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had survived. She had won. Jason's voice broke through, awed and exhausted. Night Fury, you did it. The city, everything, you saved it all. Amy allowed herself a small, tight smile, but she didn't relax completely. Her hands lingered over the controls, eyes scanning the skis for any lingering threat. 7 years of hiding had ended tonight. She had faced the ghosts of her past, the machines that sought to test her, and emerged victorious. And yet there was a part of her that felt different, not just relief, but rebirth. Night Fury was no longer just a legend whispered in secrecy. She had returned to the skis, stronger, sharper, and unstoppable. Jason's voice softened over the comms. I don't know how to thank you. I've never seen anything like this. You're a true hero. Amy shook her head. Don't thank me. Just live, fly, and remember, skill without courage is worthless. We all have our moment to rise. The engines hummed, the night sky serene after the storm, yet alive with the echoes of combat. Amy stared out at the city, the lights reflecting off the water, a mosaic of life untouched by the chaos that had raged above. She thought of the 7 years she had hidden, the fear, the guilt, the exile, and realized she had come full circle. Night Fury was no longer a ghost. She was alive, she was present, she was unstoppable. A new message appeared on her comms, simple, stark, mission complete. Command awaits debrief. Amy allowed herself one final exhale. She had survived impossible odds, defeated adaptive drones, protected countless lives, and reclaimed her legend. But deep inside, she knew the truth. Night Fury wasn't just a pilot. She was a force of nature, a living testament to courage, skill, and resilience. The skis would never forget her, and she would never forget the thrill, the fear, and the responsibility that came with being a legend. As she guided the F-22 back toward the base, Jason's voice came one last time, quiet, reverent. Night Fury, welcome back. The world, it owes you everything. Amy didn't respond immediately. She only allowed herself a faint smile, eyes fixed on the horizon. 7 years of hiding were over. The past was behind her, and the legend of Night Fury had been reborn. The night was calm, but Amy knew the sky would always call her back. And when it did, Night Fury would answer.